Hello everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. I want to go ahead and start off this episode by saying that I am sorry that this past week has been a little bit off scheduling-wise as far as how I normally do my episodes, and kind of give you guys a heads up that next week's probably going to be a little off too, because I have a couple interviews lined up. And so in between that and interviews on other people's podcasts, interviews for my own podcast, next week might be kind of a little weird and wonky scheduling wise too. So just as a heads up and an apology and a promise that one of these weeks we will get back on our normal schedule. But here we are today, and this is going to end up being kind of what's going to end up being something, I guess, 2 weeks worth of a weekly roundup. So let's go ahead and start with the story that pretty much dominated everything over the past week or so, and that is the whole YouTube controversy, which I feel like a broken record every time we have to have one of these discussions where a social media company does a thing, and it's not the thing that anybody wanted, but everybody's like, you gotta do a thing, so they do a thing, and then it's anyway. In case you have been living under a rock and are not aware of this story, let me explain the absolute, utter, complete absurdity of it to you. So this whole thing started with a Twitter beef. And I want to emphasize how absolutely fucking ridiculous this is, because this whole thing started with actually not even 2 people, just one person starting some shit on Twitter, and then it cascaded into this whole big mushroom cloud of nonsense, which ended with YouTube changing its rules, not exactly changing them, but I guess enforcing them in a different way, because as far as I know, these rules have always been here. But then again, it's hard to tell, because it's like every time one of these things happens, everybody feels like I have to change their rules and do addendums and change their TOSs, and it's just like, stop already, just pick something and stop with it. Anyway, what ended up happening is now YouTube is banning quote-unquote extremist content, and where this all started is a Vox reporter, Carlos Maza, also runs one of their podcasts, made this whole Twitter thread about Steven Crowder. And Steven Crowder is a guy on YouTube. I mean, he's popular. It's not my cup of tea. I think it's just stupid and juvenile, the shit that he does, but whatever, like 4 million people disagree with me. Anyway, do you, whatever, I don't care. Anyway, apparently Crowder spends a lot of time making fun of Maza because he is gay, and he did use some rather homophobic language to describe Maza. And in Maza's Twitter thread, he did point out that at one point, some of Crowder's fans got a hold of his cell phone number and started texting him to go debate Steven Crowder, which, just a side note, can we please stop with that "why don't you go debate him" thing? Like, that's the stupidest fucking comeback of life. Can we please just stop with the whole debate him, debate her, debate me? That, just stop it. It's stupid, it's dumb, it's not a gotcha, because you can't demand that somebody talk to you. Anyway, back to the story. So they got a hold of his private cell phone number, so I'm assuming he had to change his cell phone number. And so it kind of blew up on Twitter, and basically Maza was wanting YouTube to do something about Crowder, because Crowder was saying things that, essentially when it comes down to it, were just things that Maza didn't particularly like, which, of course, I mean, nobody likes being called homophobic slurs. I mean, Crowder called him a lispy queer and all sorts of other shit. But this all boils down to one person deciding that I don't like what this other person says about me. Not that it's, like, illegal or particularly damaging or defaming or anything like that. Just, I don't like it. So, YouTube, do something about it. And then, here comes YouTube. Now, it's so rare that you get to watch a company completely botch a response in real time. But on Twitter, we got to watch YouTube's official account tweet about this situation and just watch it. It was like watching the Hindenburg explode. And at one point I was just like, stop tweeting. Guys, stop tweeting. Let it go. But it started with YouTube saying that, okay, we're not going to do anything to Crowder. This doesn't violate our TOS, whatever. I guess technically if you squint, it does, because their TOS says that you can't say hateful things. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. Nobody knows what it's supposed to mean. And that's another problem, is everybody's TOS is so vague now that it's like, what do these words mean? How do you, like, logistically apply these rules to actual content? It's stupid. The whole thing is so stupid. I cannot overemphasize it. But so YouTube started out saying, okay, we're not going to do anything. Obviously, this was not the response that Maza or anybody who supported him wanted. So then we muddled our way over here to, well, we're not going to eliminate any of his videos, but we're going to demonetize all of his videos. Which is still not what Maza and his supporters wanted. What they wanted was for him to be deleted, not to be demonetized. And even with the demonetization thing, it started out with, well, we're going to demonetize him until he takes down the link for this particular shirt. And then it was like, no, it's not about the shirt, it's about the content. And it was just like, it was such a fucked up, botched response by YouTube to this whole situation that, if we're being completely honest, they should have never responded to in the first place. Like, this was stupid. It was a Twitter beef between, like I said, not even two people, because Crowder, I don't think ever even responded on Twitter. It was just like the dumbest thing. But then here comes YouTube, and what ended up happening is, in the effort to eliminate this extremist content now, not only did not any of Crowder's stuff get eliminated, it just got demonetized, but channels that hosted content of, like, actual Nazis. I don't mean, like, the LARPing idiots that we have now. I mean, like, Hitler and the Third Reich and stuff like that, who were hosting these sorts of videos in an educational fashion. And were providing this material to legit sources for documentaries and educational videos and stuff like that. They got their content deleted off of YouTube. Like I said, this is dumb. So dumb. But this is what happens when you ask a platform to do something. Well, guess what? YouTube did something. And the thing that they did was really fucked up and really dumb and affected a lot of people who had nothing to do with any of this. People who were just minding their own business somewhere else on the internet all of a sudden got their content deleted because of this bullshit over here. So, the bigger point that can be made from this very, very stupid, dumb story that should have never happened is to once again make the point that when you ask a platform to do something, they will do something. I have yet to see a time when the do something that was requested is the actual thing that happened, and I have yet to see a time where there wasn't some kind of nasty consequence or blowback from the decision of the platform to do something. And this is no exception. So, like, at some point, can people please figure out to stop doing that? Like, if you've got problems with somebody, like, if I was Maza, I would be like, fuck Crowder, I don't care what you say about me because I don't care. Like, I don't understand, like, I don't even understand why this had to be a thing in the first place. Like, you went looking for trouble, you found trouble, congratulations, I hope you're proud of yourself, because you got a lot of people hurt that had nothing to do with this. And so now, obviously, once you get your videos demonetized, and you don't have, like, an additional source of funding, like Patreon or anything like that that's already established, now it's very hard to make videos, because that shit costs a lot of money. Like, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of equipment, it takes a lot of manpower to film, to edit, to do all of that, it's not an easy task. So once you take away monetization from people, it makes it very hard to do. And on the flip side of that, Crowder, who does have his own Patreon established, saw his numbers spike on his Patreon. So this is another thing. I don't understand why people don't understand this. Like, every time you try to do this to somebody like Crowder, or anybody of that conservative, oh, I'm being persecuted by the left and the SJW crowd, every time you give them ammunition, all it does is help them make their argument, and conversely, him being demonetized is probably going to end up with him having more money in his pocket from people subscribing to his Patreon and buying his merchandise than he would have had from YouTube in the first place. Like, you didn't hurt this dude. You put him on. You helped him. Like, he's gonna benefit from this. He's gonna make more money off of this. So, like, every single time somebody does this, it backfires. And I'm just like, when are people gonna figure out to stop doing this? But a larger point that I want to make that I don't see a lot of people making, and I think it's time for people to start realizing something, and that is that the ask of a platform to remove content that you don't like, or to police content, or to make sure content A doesn't end up on the platform and content B does, is that at this point in time, that is an impossible ask of any major platform. Because, first off, you have two choices here. You can either hire people to review all of the content on your site, and when we're talking about sites like YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, I mean, we're talking sites that get new content, like hundreds of thousands of new tweets, new posts, new videos, new whatever, uploaded per second, every single day, 24 hours a day. Like, think about the extreme amount of human bodies that you would have to hire to sit there and review every single piece of content before it makes it onto a site. Not to mention the side effects, and there have been a couple of articles about this, about people who are hired to do this sort of thing, and what happens to you when, especially when you're like a content moderator. And as it stands right now, I think every company uses a little bit of AI and a little bit of human to do this, but the human who has to sit there and look at content that is hateful or vile or misogynistic or bigoted or racist or whatever all day long, like, that's their job. Like, the toll that takes on your psyche has got to be huge. Like, that's just like negativity bombarding your brain for like 8 hours a day. But the flip side to that is to use AI exclusively. There is not the technology there to do what it is that people would want to see happen, to do it solely through AI. Like, the AI is just not advanced enough at this point in time to understand the nuance of human interaction, of human, like, conversation. And on top of that, to develop AI to do that, you would have to develop different algorithms for every different culture who participates on social media, because the things that are said in US culture or Western culture are not going to be the same things that are going to be acceptable in, say, Eastern culture or Middle Eastern culture. And even if you want to just take it to, like, the US, like, there's different regions of this country who have different cultural norms about what is and is not okay to say in public. And it's just like, it's mind-boggling to even think that you could program AI to be able to understand and parse the meaning and the content of every single piece of information that's thrown into it and have it do it correctly, and to actually understand what it is that the person who's making the content is trying to convey, whether they're trying to be ugly or hurtful or hateful, or if they're trying to be funny or complimentary, but they're using certain words that in other contexts could be ugly or hurtful or hateful. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, a perfect example of this that I saw was Nick Monroe, before he got kicked off of Twitter permanently for a whole nother thing involving Gamergate, I think, I don't know, that whole thing is weird to me. He actually got a tweet that got him put into Twitmo because he had said that, and he said this in like a complimentary way. Somebody was giving him a compliment, and he basically said something to the effect of like, all right, it's nice that you guys come here to suck my cock, but that got him put in Twitmo because there's those words. And for what it's worth, I think that Twitter relies more on AI than they like to admit to, which I don't know why they wouldn't admit to it. I mean, it's an impossible equation for them to handle all of this anyway, but just some of the tweets that I see people get thrown into Twitter jail for, it's like, I struggle to think that there was anything other than this went through an algorithm, and an algorithm picked out a word or word combinations, or this word was too close to that word, and just automatically flagged the tweet, which shows that, like, you can't automate this, but you also can't handle this through human manpower alone. So it's an impossible ask, and I really wish that people would start to understand that. But moving on from that, because that whole situation seems to have calmed down a little bit, at least for now, until the next flare-up happens, which it will, because nobody learns anything from any of these stories, despite my attempts to ask people to learn something. But moving on to our Mexican tariffs, which thankfully did not go into effect this past Monday, because, okay, because. So, allegedly, and I say allegedly because this is all very hush-hush, super-duper secret, double super secret probation. I don't even understand what the hell is going on with this. But anyway, over the past weekend, allegedly the US and Mexico came to a deal with each other. And so that caused, it was last Friday, I do believe, that it was announced, no, it wasn't Friday, it must have been Saturday, that the tariffs would not be going into place this past Monday. Here's the thing that kind of happened. Like, okay, so this deal was announced, and then as certain aspects of the deal became public, it became abundantly obvious to everyone who kind of follows the immigration beat already and kind of has something of a bead, as much as one can possibly have a bead on anything that's going on with this situation, of kind of deals that were already in place or things that were already on the table. And as of right now, as of this recording, there isn't anything in the deal that wasn't already either slated to be implemented or wasn't already being implemented. Like, it reinforced the idea of the Remain in Mexico plan, which I've been talking about for ages. It's something that's been going on for, gosh, the better part of this year already. The idea that asylum seekers have to stay somewhere in Mexico while the asylum process is going on. So that was already on the table. Mexico just developed a National Guard that they are supposed to be sending to their southern border, allegedly part of this deal, but was actually already implemented and in place. Like, I think they formed the National Guard about a month or so ago. Like, when I say it's brand new, I mean it's brand new. And I think they bumped up the amount of troops that they were going to send to the southern border by like 500, but that plan was already in place. What was not agreed to, which I think is very interesting, and I'm a little surprised, honestly, that Trump dropped the tariff idea without getting this, and that is that Mexico has not agreed to a safe third country agreement with the U.S., which, to back up, a safe third party, or a safe third country, to be established as that means that if you're coming from, say, the Northern Triangle, and you're coming up through Mexico, if Mexico is designated a safe third country, then you would have to apply for asylum there first before applying for asylum in in the US, excuse me. So basically what would happen if that had happened would be that people coming up from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador would have to apply in Mexico first, get declined, and then apply in the US. So that was not put into place. But a thing that is floating around, and it's still kind of up in the air, it's kind of at rumor stage right now, but I did see it start popping up today, is that apparently the US and Guatemala are going to enter into a safe third country agreement, which, first of all, how are you going to enter into a safe third country agreement with a country that has people fleeing it? Like, people are leaving Guatemala to come to here. Like, how is that going to work? Like, how does that work? So the idea would be, obviously, if you were Guatemalan, then you'd be leaving Guatemala, you'd go through Mexico. If you were a Honduran or El Salvadorian, and you go through Guatemala, then you would have to apply for asylum in Guatemala first. I mean, the logistics of this should be kind of obvious about how would this even go down? Like, okay, so all these people are coming through Guatemala, they have to go through Guatemala's system, you would have to prove that you did. Like, I don't even understand the framework that would have to be in place for this to be a logistically well-functioning plan. That being said, I understand that the point of this is not to be a logistic, well-functioning plan, it's to deter people from starting in the first place. I get it, I know, but it still bears pointing out that this plan is ridiculous. So, anyway, back to how the US-Mexico plan kind of got torn to shreds in the media by people who were already aware of the fact that most of the things in the deal were already things that were agreed upon even before tariffs were threatened. So, the spin from Trump is that there is a super secret deal, and we don't know about it yet. I'm not going to tell you until Mexico says that we can tell you. Which, to be fair, Mexico is... They've got legislative things going on too. But the idea that there's a secret deal, I can't tell you. And he actually he did a press conference where he took this piece of paper, like, out of his jacket pocket and showed it to everybody. Like, it was a folded up piece of paper. It's like, see, here's the deal. I have it, but I can't show it to you. And so, because Twitter is what they are, everybody cropped, rotated the picture, realized that you can actually read some of the words, and what you can read on it really doesn't tell us much of anything. It's like, it's one page. Like, but that is the line out of the White House, is that there's a deal and you can't know about it. And even Mick Mulvaney came out and said, you know what, the American people may never know what the deal is between the US and Mexico, which is just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, oh my God, like, it's farcical. Like, it was just the dumbest thing. And you can't, like, basically, you just screwed yourself on tariffs. Like, you can't threaten tariffs and then back down while getting nothing, especially when you're in the middle of trying to negotiate with China. Like, don't think for a second Beijing didn't watch this and, like, laugh their ass off. Because now they know that they can play Trump and can just say what the hell ever, and they'll drop tariffs without any kind of demonstrable actions taken to do the thing that Trump wants them to do. So, anyway, the whole thing was stupid, but at least we don't have Mexican tariffs as of right now. Part of the deal that we were allowed to know about is that after 90 days, they are supposed to reevaluate Mexico's actions to see if they are actiony enough to make sure tariffs don't get applied in the future. So we may be revisiting this, we may not. Trump has the attention span of a fruit fly. So 90 days from now, I have no clue if he's going to revisit this. I there's a 50-50 shot as far as I'm concerned. Like, he may just drop the whole damn thing. I don't fucking know. maybe he'll bring it back up again because he saw some migrants. I don't know. Like, nobody knows. And that's kind of a problem, too, is especially when you're talking about U.S. and Mexico. Like, that is one of our major trading partners. Like, there needs to be some level of stability in our relationship with Mexico so that importers and exporters can know, like, what am I doing? Like, what's the plan here? What's going on? Like, do we have tariffs? Do we not have tariffs? Are we going to have tariffs in the future? Like, it's such a fucked up way of trying to handle anything, and it's going to backfire eventually. Like, it's going to create some nasty economic backfiring, and it's just, I mean, Trump just doesn't know anything about how the economy works. And so he keeps doing this shit. It's like watching Idiocracy, where it's like, they realize if you put water on plants, it'll help them grow. And so then they decided that maybe the way to fix, like, the nuclear plant would be to put toilet water on it. That's Trump and tariffs. Like, he thinks tariffs are like water, and if you just put it on anything, it'll fix it. It's so dumb. But moving on to something that isn't dumb, and I guess it's kind of a surprise, but not really, but kind of how it went down, and that is that Justin Amash has officially left the House Freedom Caucus. And from everything I've seen, and I've not seen anybody report otherwise, he left. He wasn't kicked out. And he used the whole line, you know, I like these guys, they're my best friends, but I don't want to be a distraction. Which, okay, dude, I mean, you gotta say something. That's as good at anything to say, whatever. But he left the House Freedom Caucus, which is just another step in the direction that it's becoming very speculative. And I'm even starting to see outlets like Huffington Post reach out to Amash and interview him and start asking questions about, okay, so what does this mean? Does this mean that you plan on running for president? And Amash, to his credit, has said, I've not ruled it out. He's not made any commentary as to what party he would be doing it with, whether he would be trying to primary Trump or leaving and joining the LP and becoming our nominee, which, for what it's worth, here's my opinion on that. And I'm sure I've discussed this before, but in the current environment that Justin Amash finds himself in, where he's no longer part of the House Freedom Caucus, and where there is this strain of conservatism that if you are not 100% for Trump, then you can get the fuck out. I think the decision is being made for him at this point. So it's kind of, do you, as Amash, do you stay and, first off, try to run again for your seat, which, two problems with that. One, he is being primaried for his seat. Second of all, his district may not survive the 2020 census. So, that's, I mean, you can do that. And sadly, the first poll that I've seen coming out of that district shows him losing to his primary opponent. So, you look at these facts, like, okay, you can run for the seat, you're being primaried, and when I say he was losing to his primary opponent, I mean it was by like 16 points. It's not like 1 point or 2 points or something within the margin of error. It's pretty solid. So, you run for the seat that may or may not exist after the 2020 census. Or you choose to primary Trump, which I don't know how exactly that would work, because the RNC has already said that there will be no primary challengers. Like, they are not entertaining the notion of anybody trying to primary Trump. So there's that. So knowing all that, it seems to me like there's really only one choice for him going forward that makes any kind of sense, and that would be to run for president on the LP ticket. I think that he would have an almost certainty of getting the nomination, especially depending on who he picks as his VP. But I don't really see any other path for him at this point, because he's about to become, like so many other people, he's about to become politically homeless. Justin Amash is about to join the ranks of the politically homeless. And just like everybody else who is politically homeless, I extend my invitation to come join us and have your home here with libertarians. Whether you choose to join the LP or not, that's your business. But over here, Justin, hey, hi, what's up? But another point that I want to make, especially in relationship to the Amash situation, but kind of writ large, and this also touches back on the last episode I did on the kind of first things / I think they've settled on calling themselves post-liberal conservatives. And that is the idea that when the Tea Party formed, it was with the idea of trying to infiltrate the GOP and to try to pull it into more of a libertarian position, more of a small government sort of place. And I think at this point, we need to just go ahead and say that that experiment failed. I mean, we tried, we'll still have a couple of people in Congress, but overall, that experiment failed. So it's one of those things where, like, people need to come to grips with the fact that it's not going to happen that way. Like, if you want libertarians to be in government, then they're going to have to go through the LP. Like, going through the GOP, we tried, it didn't work. So it's one of those where you're going to have to, like, cowboy up and start going third party. That just is what it is. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that concept out there, because there will still inevitably be, especially leading up to 2020, the idea that people will throw out there is like, oh, we just need to run libertarian-leaning Republicans. It's like, well, no, we tried that, and it didn't work, and it's damn sure not going to work in the current environment, because, like I said in the last episode, they are becoming increasingly hostile towards us. Like, not even that, like, it used to be that they kind of liked us, and then they tolerated us. Now they're openly hostile towards us. So, yeah, that's just not a winning path going forward, as far as I can tell. So, moving on to the last topic that I want to discuss, and that is that the Democratic primary debates are upon us. Yes, they will be June 26th and 27th, and it was announced today who was going to be in the debates. And as I've explained before, they are broken up into 2 different nights. And so there are 2 different brackets. There's a purple bracket and an orange bracket. How they pick those colors, I have no damn clue. But it's basically, there's 20 people, so it's split up into 10 and 10. And let me go ahead and read to you who is in each bracket, because this is really telling. Like, I see what you're trying to do here, DNC. I see you. So, in the purple group, we have Bernie, Harris, Biden, Buttigieg, Bennett, Williamson, Swalwell, Gillibrand, Yang, and Hickenlooper. In the orange group, we have Booker, Warren, Beto, Klobuchar, Delaney, Tulsi, Castro, Ryan, de Blasio, and Inslee. Now, look at who is in each one of those groups, and tell me that Team Purple here isn't loaded as hell, and Team Orange is like the backbenchers, which they put Warren and Booker in Team Orange with, like, the rest of the people who are polling in, like, the single digits, and they put all of the potential, current and potential front-runners, heavyweights, in the purple bracket. I see what you did there, DNC. You're trying to, like, weed this out, trying to fix this problem that you created by making it really obvious, like, who's going to stay and who's going to go by who's in which group. So, yeah, that will be, like I said, the 26th and the 27th. Like I said, it's 2 nights because everybody and their freaking mom is here, almost. There are some people who are running who did not make the cut here, and I guess we will revisit that in the July debates, because yes, we will be doing this again next month. Oh my god, yeah, so that ought to be an adventure. So, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm sure there will be more to discuss on the Dem primaries after our 2-night extravaganza. Which this is just, oh my god, you screwed up, DNC. You played yourselves. Congratulations, you fucked up, and now you gotta deal with this disaster that you allowed to happen. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. As always, if you did make it this far, thank you. And if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.